If you clicked on this video, you most likely have a problem. You want your writing to be better than it is now, but you're not really sure how to get it there. Maybe you've written a whole novel, and even though you were sure it's going to be the most brilliant thing ever written, it evidently isn't, and it bothers you that you don't know why it isn't. Or maybe even you've never written more than a couple of pages, and you don't know how to, get into it. Either way, you're not seeing any progress, or at least not enough progress. This is a situation writers can be stuck in for years, and what I'd like to do in this series of videos is give you the tools to get yourself out of this situation. Do I really have the audacity to tell you that I can solve this problem in 4 short videos? Yes, easily. I mean, easily for me. I'm going to point out where I think that you should go, but you're going to actually have to do the legwork to get there. At this point, the question comes naturally, why should you trust me on any of this? And the answer is that you obviously shouldn't. Apply judgment. For every statement that I make, ask yourself, does it make sense to you? And if not, why not? Let's begin. In general terms, the main problem that I see with beginning writers is that they're too focused on producing good writing today and not focused enough on becoming a better writer in the future. So many beginner authors, my younger self included, just start out writing a novel and expect it to be on the same level as world-renowned books. Why? This is so strange. This is like stepping into a boxing ring for the first time in your life and expecting to be on the same level as world champions who have been practicing this skill for decades. Maybe you are extremely talented, but Rocky was extremely talented and he trained his ass off and he still lost to Apollo Creed. And he was proud of that loss. This is the mindset that I want for you. It's okay to be overconfident. It can often be really useful. But what I suggest is shifting that overconfidence from thinking that you are a good writer today to thinking that you have what it takes to become an amazing writer in the future. In more pragmatic terms, when I consult to people who have been stuck in the same level of writing for a long time, I find that it almost always stems from one of 3 reasons. 1, not writing enough. 2, not getting enough feedback or not processing it correctly. And 3, not understanding what writing is. It's enough to have just one of these problems for your writing progress to stall completely. Obviously, if you don't write, you're not going to improve, which is why I'm going to dedicate a whole video on how to write more without hating yourself in the process. But even if you do write, if you're not getting any feedback, if nobody's reading it and telling you what they think, you're not going to improve. And how would you? You wouldn't know what to fix or how. But even if you write and get feedback for everything that you write, if you haven't read enough to develop an understanding of this craft, if you don't know what it is that you actually want to say, you can write for years and get the best critique that money can buy and still not produce anything that moves somebody, something that they will remember and want to tell their best friend about. Most beginner writers have 2 of these 3 bases covered and are amazed at how the reaction to the writing changes once they cover the 3rd. What I suggest is that you make a clear, thought-out plan on how you're going to cover these 3 bases. Continuing the Rocky metaphor, something like a training program detailing 1, how much you're going to write, 2, how much feedback you're going to get, and 3, how much are you going to invest in reading and analyzing and watching videos like this in order to develop a grounded theoretical and intuitive understanding of this craft that you wish to master. I'm going to make a video for each part of the plan, and the order in which these videos are going to come out is actually going to be the reverse of how I presented the problems for reasons that will become clear relatively soon. So the first video is going to be about 1, what is good writing, in which we'll try to understand what the hell is going on here? Why do people even read? Why did you spend so many hours of your life staring at text? What is the process that takes place when one person strings together some symbols and another person stares at those symbols and then says, oh my god, that was so good? This is one of those questions that's really hard to answer, but I feel like we have to answer it in order to do this well. We're going to come up with different models to explain this bizarre phenomenon and define parameters like beauty, meaning, and the ratio of interest to effort. We're going to talk about balancing our conscious and unconscious mind. As fun as it is to talk theory, writing should be at least semi-intuitive, and so we're going to have to talk about how to train that intuition by reading. You may have been subjected to the horror of having to read the writing of a person who doesn't read, but even if you haven't, you know that you should read in order to write well. The question is, what to read and how? In that video, we're going to talk about how to read actively in order to get the most out of your reading and why it's important to read bad writing. Yes, bad writing, in order to practice pointing out mistakes and coming up with improvements. We're also going to discuss the consumption of theoretical knowledge, the kind you get in videos that tell you never to use the passive voice or that dialogue is conflict. I'm not against this stuff, but I see a lot of writers who quote theoretical knowledge without really understanding it and come up with these long lists of rules that choke the writing to death. We're going to talk about how to avoid that, how to uncook yourself if you have gotten into that situation, and most importantly, how to consume theoretical knowledge in the most useful way. Once we have a better understanding of what it is that we're trying to do, we're going to be in a better position to talk about 2. How to make the most out of feedback. Most writers that I talk to spend at least a couple of years writing and not letting anyone see it except for maybe their close friends. The quality of their writing absolutely skyrockets once good critique has been introduced, but feedback can be harmful, particularly to beginner writers. Beginner writers need feedback the most, but at the same time are the most vulnerable to it because they lack confidence. In that video, we're going to talk about what critiques to take in and what to reject and how to know which is which. We're going to talk about how to give good critique, a skill that you should really develop, and not just because you want to be the kind of person that other people want to trade critique with, but because giving feedback will help you understand the emotional elements that come into play when people receive feedback, first in others, then in yourself. We'll talk about where to get good critique and feedback and why this is the only thing in writing that's worth spending money on. Feedback can only come into play after you've begun writing, but there's a chicken and egg thing going on here because getting good, constructive feedback is one of those things that will help you figure out 3. How to write more. You already know that you should write a lot to be good at it. You probably think that you're not writing enough. The most commonly applied solution for this is to hate yourself for not writing, and once that doesn't work, what most people do is counterintuitively hate themselves even more. And once that doesn't work, what a lot of writers do is either give up or just compromise by writing that one thing that they really enjoy writing or feel good at. This is obviously toxic, and the good news is that we can sidestep this entire complex entirely. Having good feedback is one of those things that will help us avoid this problem, because writing better is a big, scary goal, but fixing the unclear dialogue in that one specific writing exercise is much more manageable, making it easier to sit down in front of your screen. Another thing that will help is knowing what it is that you want to say in this dialogue. If there is something clear that you want to communicate that is clear to you, you're going to be so much more motivated to try and fix the problems in it. I want to talk less about how to force yourself to write in set times and more about how to cultivate motivation in order to make writing an enjoyable activity. I think that enjoying your writing is essential. I think your readers feel it when you enjoy it, and they definitely feel it when you don't. And even if it wasn't essential to writing, you've already decided to dedicate so many hours of your life to this craft, wouldn't it be better to have fun? And after we're done talking about joy, we're going to talk about the most important subject of all, love. Yeah, you heard me. Love. Without love, none of this shit is worth doing. This is more or less the plan, but the magic of writing is that there are always surprises along the way. These videos should coalesce into one paradigm about what writing is and how to progress in it, and I hope that you'll be convinced of this paradigm and find it useful. But what I hope for even more is that you'll use it to build up your own understanding, your own paradigm, and therefore your own plan. Huge thanks to my beautiful patrons, particularly Zilch and Duck, who helped me write this essay. Until next time, life isn't about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. It's about how much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done, you hear? God, I do hate working in front of a camera, I'll give you that much.